The devil doesn't always come to destroy your life. Sometimes he comes to disrupt your focus. And if he can't stop you, he'll settle for slowing you down. Now, how does he do that? He does that through distractions that don't always look dangerous. Now, sometimes it's so hard to tell if something's a distraction or not because it can be disguised as opportunities, as success, as favor. And sometimes it even seems like it's an open door from God. But what if that open door is actually a counterfeit dressed as a distraction, looking like destiny, but it's pulling you away from God and is pulling you away from what God has called you to do? Now, if we turn to the Bible, we see it's warning us in 1 Corinthians 10:23. It says, "You say I'm allowed to do anything, but not everything is good for you. You say I'm allowed to do anything, but not everything is beneficial." So what does that mean? It means not everything allowed is aligned. And in this video, I will show you 3 common distractions that the devil uses to pull us off track, so you can see them, avoid them, and stay focused on what God has called you to do. Now, the first distraction I'm going to talk about is easy to miss because it looks spiritual. This distraction is doing more for God instead of being with God. Now, don't get me wrong. It's good to do things for God. Now, that has its place. It's only wrong when you start doing more for God that you neglect being with Him, being in His presence, seeking Him in prayer. And when you start neglecting being with Him and start doing more for Him, you start risking operating in your own flesh and in your own understanding, which is dangerous. Now, in the Bible, it highlights this very distraction in the story of Martha and Mary. Now, this can be found in Luke 10:38-42, and it's very interesting how Jesus responds to one of them. So basically, in this story, Martha is moving fast. She's preparing, she's serving, she's working hard to honor Jesus. And what is Mary doing? She is still. She's at Jesus' feet. She's listening and she's focused on His presence. Now, what Martha was doing was not wrong. She was doing something good. She was serving Jesus. But in all that she was doing, she missed the opportunity to simply just be with Him. So here's the interesting part. Jesus calls it out and He says, Mary has chosen what is better. So what can we learn from this story? Is that you can be busy for God and still miss God. So let's prioritize being with Him as much as we do for Him. Daydreaming is another sneaky distraction. It's about imagining a future you're not prepared for. It feels harmless, but quietly steals your time and your focus because you're just fantasizing about the life you want instead of putting in that work with God to build it in real life. God can give you whatever you desire, but He's a God of order, and He won't bless you with something you're not ready to manage. We often complain about delays, but sometimes He's just waiting on our obedience to take that first step. Here's what the Bible has to say about that. Those who work their land will have abundant food, but those who chase fantasies will have their fill of poverty. This comes from Proverbs 28:19. So what does that mean? That if you use what God has already given you and you work, you will see the results. But if you only dream and you never act on it, you'll be left with nothing. God blesses actions and not just imagination. The last distraction that the devil uses is comfort because it kills discipline. We are called to do intentional things like prayer, worship, serving, and all the things. But comfort says, oh, I'll do it later, as if we are promised another day. It's easier to scroll on social media than to pray for 15 minutes. It's easier to watch your favorite show or your favorite movie than to read your Bible. And it's easier to chase validation and likes than to chase purpose. That's why the devil uses that, because he doesn't have to destroy you. He just needs to distract you long enough to make you ineffective. Discipline is what is going to build you. Comfort is what is going to weaken you. I'm going to use King David as my example for the distraction of comfort. So let's turn to 2 Samuel 11. And it says, in the spring, when kings go off to war, David stayed in Jerusalem, okay? He was called to the battlefield, but chose comfort instead. This led to his greatest failure, the sin with Bathsheba, okay? That comfort made him careless. He let his guard down. He wasn't supposed to be there, and because of that, it cost him deeply. So I'll end with this. Don't just be busy, be obedient. Don't just dream, but prepare. Don't just scroll, but seek. Purpose is too important to waste on your distraction.